This is Code Red.
Hey guys, I'm Shubh,
And I'm Parthib.
and you're listening to the Code Red podcast. This is a podcast where we review Manchester United games, player ratings, and club tactics. Today, we're going to be looking at Manchester United's 2-1 win at Norwich. Throughout the series, we're also going to be looking at any transfer news, contract extensions, or any injuries to the squad.
Yeah, so today's fixture at Norwich is at home at Norwich. Odion Goyal took to the scoring sheet first in the 51st minute after a relatively dry first half, with Todd Cantwell firing 20 minutes later with a shot from outside the box. Then in the closing minutes of regulation, we had a Tim Klose red card to stop what could have been a potential goal by Odion Goyal again. And in the 118th minute, in a last-ditch effort, Harry Maguire, unknown heroes, came in and scored the last goal. So coming into this match, United had beat Derby County in the round of 16 3-0, which was a pretty astounding and a very comfortable defeat for them, whereas Norwich struggled a bit with the Tottenham Hotspurs going all the way to penalties, where Tim Krul was a hero there, saving a penalty. So today what happened, as 9:30 a.m. we kicked off here, and so for the lineups, Ole stuck with his 4-2-3-1 formation, but shifted almost the entire squad. The only players that were still remaining from last week's fixture against Sheffield was Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, and Bruno Fernandes. In goal, we had Sergio Romero, who's this game was his 50th appearance in Cup for Manchester United in the last 5 years. Luke Shaw, as stated, in left back, Harry Maguire in the center, as well as Eric Bailly, who swapped out for Victor Lindelof. Then Diego Dalot, who swapped out for Wan-Bissaka. Scott McTominay and Fred, who was switched out for Pogba and Matic. We had Bruno Fernandes down the middle in his regular position. Jesse Lingard on the left instead of Rashford. Juan Mata on the right with his 251st appearance with Man U, replacing Greenwood. And Odion Goyal replacing Martial at top. And for the Norwich side, it was the same formation, 4-2-3-1. Tim Krul and goalie, the hero of the last FA Cup fixture. Mark Aarons, I hope that's his name. Nice. Godfrey, Tim Klose, Lewis, McLean, and Teddy in the center of the park. Rob Buendia, Cantwell in the midfield, and Tumi Puki going for the offense.
Yeah. The squad was very rotated. Obviously, it's a cup fixture, and with the lockdown restart, there's a lot of games back-to-back, so it was pretty necessary for Ole to play his reserve squad, especially with the top four race so tight. They can't afford to draw points, so he decided to keep his starters on the bench, especially Rashford, Martial, Pogba, who have come from injury earlier in the season. What do you think about the tactics?
Tactic-wise, it was a much slower game, I'll say. I think the addition of Scott McTominay, Fred, Jesse Lingard, and Mata isn't as strong or as fast or as explosive as the midfield and attack we had last week, which consisted of Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood, then obviously Martial dropping up front. It seemed they were taking it a lot slower, and may have been because of the heat. It's a hot summer in Manchester right now, and England as a whole. But yeah, it seemed like they were taking it slow, but they were really emphasizing the wings. What we saw last week with Wan-Bissaka is that he was going forward a lot more. And one of my tripes with Luke Shaw was that he stayed back and didn't have much to do with the offense. But today we saw Luke Shaw and Diego Dalot going up many times, and Luke Shaw was in the center of the last goal to put them through to the semifinals. But yeah, so that was one tactic I saw that was different from last week's. What about you?
I think the tactics kind of Ole tried to remain the same. I think with this 4-2-3-1 position, he kind of likes to operate on the high press. Obviously, he loves that counter-attacking play with his players. But I think today what we saw the difference between the reserves and the current first team squad for United. I mean, a lot of these players in the reserve team today were playing for United last season, even this season when the likes of Martial, Rashford, Pogba were all injured, right? Pereira was playing, Mata, Lingard. These guys were pretty much starters in the first team last season especially. And I think it just really shows a big difference in the way they played, even though the tactics remained the same. I mean, against Sheffield, you saw Bruno Fernandes. He would dribble down the towards the box, and you'd have Mason, Martial, Rashford, even Pogba sometimes kind of side by side, and they'd all go into attack at once. But today, Bruno kind of seemed a bit of a star in that kind of depleted offense. I mean, he would run forward, and you'd have only maybe Igalo running up. Mata and Jesse Lingard, they aren't fast at all compared to Martial and Greenwood and Rashford. So I think the tactics work well, and they work better for United's faster
The first team
players.
squad, yeah.
Yeah, the first team squad. But I don't think. I think the reserves should have done better, especially.
Not-
Yeah, go ahead.
Another difference that I saw was that Igalo, Lingard, and Mata weren't dropping back as heavy as Martial, Greenwood, and Rashford in the last match. We saw Rashford coming back on defense, picking up the ball, and playing beautiful balls to Martial, same vice versa. But what we saw here was Igalo playing more of a number 9 where he's just trying to hold up the play. But even then, there wasn't too much support considering how many men Norwich had back. Like, Norwich were playing defensive so much during this match, and it was obvious. Like, they were at a disadvantage. They're the worst team in the league by the standings. So they took their chance and they stood back and waited for small opportunities here and there. And even what you were saying about the fast players, they really couldn't counter. It just seemed like it was Bruno and then just Lingard and Mata just kind of lagging behind him. So, and I think without Matic, there wasn't that stability in the defense. We saw so many times, especially on the Todd Cantwell goal, there was no one in the midfield to back up the defense, to pressure the defense, and he had like about 3 seconds of free room and then just took a brilliant shot off. So that's like, I think from the main squad we can really see the differences. Like, there needs to be more pace, there needs to be more awareness of their players, and sometimes it just seemed like they were just kind of like roaming around the pitch, not with really no intent by the looks of it.
No, yeah, especially on that Matic thing. McTominay and Fred were the kind of midfield duo before this lockdown occurred, and so they seemed really good in form. But now they can't seem to work together. They can't seem to turn the ball over as well. McTominay especially. I think Fred had a decent game. He was able to turn the ball over a couple times. Yeah. He was able to. I think he saved one of the shots by like diving forward, and stretching out his legs. But the problem with Fred and McTominay versus Pogba and Matic is Fred and McTominay, they play a very man-to-man type of game. And so when a player is dribbling into their own half, they'll immediately press, but then easily the opposition will just make a pass into the space, and 2 of the United players are left behind, Fred and McTominay. And I think Matic and Pogba are able to read the game so much better. Matic doesn't quickly go for balls, and that might be because of his age, that might be because of his lack of pace, but he can, like, he's a much bigger, much more physical presence in that midfield, and I think his ability to convert from the defense to offense, like we saw in the Sheffield game with him running around, I think that kind of exposes United's midfield depth.
Yeah, Matic's lack of stamina, he compensates with his tactical awareness, his ability to move the ball around, passing it forward, just knowing where he has to be and knowing how to help out. I think that's what United were really missing on the defense. So many times we just saw ping pong sequences in the box that started because there was no one in the defense, like in the holding midfielders, just trying to control the ball and control the play. Like, what was it? The United had like what was their possession stats again? They had 64 36. But most of the time, like, United weren't like doing anything with the ball. They kind of reverted to their old style of play, just passing it back, just ping-ponging back, not really sure what to do. And that may have been a factor of the heat, and also to mention Norwich's defense just sitting back.
No, yeah, I think Norwich did play a pretty good defense. I mean, they sat back and they didn't really commit to the attack. They still stayed relatively back. In the attack, they had some glimpses with like a lot more players forward, but they still relatively stayed in their own half. But yeah, like comparing to the Sheffield game, I think Sheffield was 68% possession to United, 32% to Sheffield, and this is just 4% difference in possession. But yeah, this really does look identical to United's old style of play, especially before Christmas in the later half of the first end of the season, when they were losing games to Newcastle, West Ham, Burnley. they would just pass it laterally. They wouldn't make or create like strong chances. I think, and they really need to elevate their like style of play. Like yes, they have players who can like dribble. They have players who have somewhat pace, but this reserves team, they kind of need to understand how to like formulate better off ball movement. I think they just play the safe pass, and that safe pass doesn't help when they're trying to play against teams that park the bus. When they park the bus, it's kind of predictable what their move is going to be. But with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, right? We saw that flick against Sheffield United, which allowed to the goal. Also today, Odion
Yeah, the same flick.
Igalo's, yeah, the red card.
Yeah.
Bruno,
It was pretty much the exact same thing. Bruno just did a nice flick. Igalo was open. Just Tim Klose had to do what he had to do, and him and Norwich were lucky that it was a red card, but it was lucky that it wasn't inside the box.
Yeah. You think it was a good play by Tim Klose?
He had to do what he had to do. I mean, Tim Klose, like the Norwich defense was. I don't think they defended per se. They just had so many men back. There really was no need to be like defensive minded, if you get what I mean. They were just kind of in the box, just putting pressure. But yeah, I think anyone would have done what he did because Igal is a strong dude. He could have just bodied Tim Klose and just gotten and would have been free on goal. But I think what happened when we first started the match was that United were just kind of dinking it around, not really doing much. I think after the water break, Norwich changed tactics. They were really pressing high for it. Like we saw Pukki and Cantwell really going for the United defenders, but it just seems to kind of die off after like 10 minutes. It's so hot down there. They really can't be continuing this for so long.
Yeah. I think, Norwich really did try to formulate some sort of attacks, but it kind of just ended up with kind of like United's attacks sometimes, just one player rushing. They occasionally had some good chances. I think Maguire had a strong block against one of the shots, which could have been an easy goal if Romero didn't see that, and it was going pretty much near the far post. But I think United they could have done better. Definitely.
Oh yeah,
definitely could have done better.
Yeah, like in the first half, they no shots on target for either teams. It was just Bruno just trying to take some long shots or just blocks in the D. But then again, we saw like when Norwich did have chances, they were able to penetrate the defense more. Like United was caught sleeping, I'd say, several times throughout the game, and they just kind of slowly took their time and just kind of found those open spaces to take a shot and maybe get a rebound. And like we saw, like they did take shots, but none of them were on target though.
No, yeah. United really played like their old selves. After that goal, I mean, United weren't hungry for another goal. They were passing the ball around, especially like even to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw should have cleared it. He was just slowly dribbling. There was this one play, Luke Shaw just like kind of tapped it over, kind of deflected it off the opposition to kind of get a throw in. I mean, that was a way different mentality than the Sheffield United game. I mean, Sheffield United, after 7 minutes they scored, they're going back for more chances.
That's what I'm talking about. It's the early goal. That's what drives United. It took them so long to get that first goal. Igalo, he did it well, Igalo, but like I think it's just that early goal that changes everything for United.
Yeah. I think like mentality plays a huge aspect in the sport, and United should have done better to take advantage of the things they can do when they have the advantage. I mean, they had some good chances, especially later on when United's star players started to come on and they started creating more like concrete chances. But Krul kept denying him. Hats off to him. He did an amazing job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the game was pretty even. I'd say back and forth. It would just be United going for the attack, and then they'd be rushing back.
And just sitting back, yeah. But then, again, like, when we were talking about Norwich's offense, like, they were sitting back the whole time. But then, 32nd minute, we see Maguire pushing up super heavy. Like, he's all the way up there with Igalo. And it left a huge gap for Norwich counter. It was a 2-on-1 with Pukki and Cantwell leading the charge. Don't remember who's back for them, but an awful ball from Cantwell just led to Pukki getting rushed by Luke Shaw. But yeah, you saw that they were capitalizing on chances, even though they didn't score really. Norwich were being more effective with the chances that they were given because they didn't come too much for them.
Yeah, they really caught United sleeping, as you said. I mean, Pukki was... there were actually, I think, two moments where Pukki had like a 1v1 situation. One was the one with Luke Shaw, where he was rushing down like kind of like near the edge of the 18-yard box, and then Luke Shaw kind of ran. The other time was kind of interesting. I mean, it was, I don't know what was happening, but Pookie was running, and then Eric Bailly, instead of chasing down Timu Pukki, who should have been Luke Shaw's man at the time, he went straight for the penalty spot, which I don't understand at all. I mean, if you're in that one,
Yeah, he was going back, right?
yeah.
No, they had there was another man on them. I like that's what I was even thinking. Like, what the hell is he doing? Just go for the man. But they kept pushing back because I think it was just the prospect of that other man, for Norwich on the right, I believe it was. I can't remember that they were falling back and weren't pushing too hard. But yeah, just watching that just upset me.
Yeah, I think United's awareness in terms of this reserve team is very low, especially with the Cantwell goal. You see, so,
Oh yeah.
Joseph Dermis, he passes the ball to Cantwell, and Dermis is going for the overlap. He's running through the middle so that Cantwell could kind of pass it kind of like a 1-2 kind of scenario, and he could slot it in. And so Romero, I think, identified that, and so he kind of positioned himself more to the center, which then allowed Cantwell to just fire it into the back of the net, bottom right. And I think that was a fabulous strike. But
Oh yeah,
Romero should have done a better job.
props to Cantwell. Like, it wasn't an easy shot considering how far out he was. It was a low shot, but there's a lot of things on his side as well. Harry Maguire blocking Romero's point of view, and then the sun was in their half, could have messed with Romero. But then again, it was also their fault for not having anyone there, like Fred or McTowney just being there and being able to put pressure on it. I think that's what also was their downfall when it came to the Cantwell goal.
Yeah. The first team definitely had to bail them out. I mean, this is kind of like exposing United's management, their scouting flaws. I mean, if we're Mata and Lingard together, they're on a 200K a week goal.
Come on.
If you're paying them 200K a week to not even win the league games, let alone Premier League, if you can't win the like FA Cup games against like low level teams, then what are you here for? I mean, United really needs to get their deadwood out.
Yeah, and considering Lingard, who's a so-called veteran, he's 27 years old, and first Premier League goal, what was it? I heard December 2018.
Yeah, he scored a brace against, I think it was Cardiff, Ole's first game back.
Yeah, but like it's like he's a considered veteran. He's been there the longest, but like he just has never shown. I think if United's biggest flaw is obviously it's from what we've seen today is the reserves, and I think there's got to be a huge change in that aspect because we can't. Like, Juan Mata's an old guy, 32 years old. He's getting close to retirement. He can't keep up for long. And Scott McTominay, he's a young guy, just needs some more experience because he was pretty quiet. I didn't hear his name. I just kind of forgot about that he was there. Him, Mata, Lingard, those three I just kind of forgot they were even on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. Their tactical awareness needs to improve a lot more if they want to, play a role in this club. And I think that comes with United's transfer window. I mean, we can't play Pogba, Bruno, Martial, Rashford week in, week out.
Yeah.
Especially when it's cups, like when the Cup Champions League, if they make it Europa League, they can't play all those games continuously. We saw when in Ole's interim, right? All these players were playing well, but then they got overplayed. Daniel James this season, he was supposed to be just a squad player, right? Play for those league games, kind of give them that kind of depth, which they've lacked so much over the past 7 years with their manager on that right flank. But he was playing week in, week out, and then his form eventually dipped. So United have to be careful with these players, especially with the young squad, because the young squad kind of mentality is they get confidence very easily, but that confidence it breaks even easier. And yeah.
Yeah, I expected Daniel James to be playing. Lingard was kind of a surprise for me, but Daniel James kind of seemed like the one that I would have put in place of Lingard because the thing is Ole favors Lingard, which kind of drives me nuts considering how kind of immature he is for his age. Like, at this point, like, I think if Jesse Lingard was playing in the 90s, I think he'd be a hell of a lot of a better player than he is now. It's just I think he just gets distracted too much. He doesn't really have his eyes on the goal.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the right wing position, we have James, Greenwood, and Lingard. So who do you think is in the pecking order of that?
Oh, I think for what would have been my pecking order would have been Greenwood, Daniel James, then Lingard. Lingard would never play for me, but I think it's Ole just has a connection to him because maybe he's been here for the longest. But yeah, but from in terms of Ole, I'd say he sees it as Lingard, Greenwood, then Daniel James.
Yeah. I think Lingard he's kind of shown his trust in Lingard, especially even in interviews. He's kind of claimed Lingard's confidence has dropped and he's not the same player he was. But this is supposed to be a development season for Mason. He's supposed to be introduced to the first team, not bailing them out in a cup game. They were. Yeah,
go ahead.
This goes far behind. This goes far more than like just Lingard's not playing well, because it's actually hurting Mason's development. If we're having to rely on Mason Greenwood to kind of save us on that right flank, then that exposes a lot of our squad.
It just puts so much unnecessary pressure on a young player like him.
Yeah, and this has happened to United so many times, right? Januzaj, he wasn't able to build his confidence, right? Di Maria, Memphis Depay, Wilfried Zaha. This has happened way too many times, and with a star player like Greenwood, we can't afford to do that again.
And it's all pretty much happened in these 7 years since Fergie left.
Yeah. I think
it's just, I think it's Fergie's mentality that kind of helped these players grow to what they are, and Ole's doing a good job of that now. But I think he has to be more strict on these players. Just letting Lingard play, like this should have, in my eyes, it could have been an easy game, just a rotation period. But they made it so much harder on themselves, keeping it up until like the extra time. But yeah, that's all. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think Ole got it right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with rotating your squad, especially in this time when the games are a lot closer. And people will say, he's playing Ogala, that's great. Oh, he's playing Lingard, he's giving them a chance. And then if we concede the first goal, everyone would be like, oh, why are we playing them, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
What you need to understand is, Ole made the right decision to play the squad. But the thing is, he inherited the squad, right? He's made good signings, but it's going to take a couple more transfer windows. It's going to take a lot more money to fully revolutionize the squad to the point where they can trust their reserve team to win them those games. And, we saw if Rashford gets injured, if Martial gets injured, if Pogba gets injured, they're done for. They can't break down teams. I mean, Bruno Fernandes is their only hope right now.
Bruno, and the thing is, Bruno Fernandes had no backing whatsoever. It was just him just going on his own escapades and he had no help. And it was obvious, him and Pogba combining the last game against Sheffield, and him and not being able to combine with literally virtually anyone on the pitch. Like, it's obvious that there needs to be more squad depth.
Yeah. I mean, after this game, I think this was Bruno's worst game in the 14.
Oh, yeah.
He United, but it wasn't terrible to the point where he shouldn't he's overrated, or he shouldn't start again. He couldn't, if he was in a squad like the Sheffield one or even if the players were just pushing harder, right, making those off-ball runs, the game could have ended a lot earlier. They could have killed the game. They should have been more clinical with their chances. And, I think, personally, we've been linked to Sancho because we need that right-wing player. But I wouldn't be mad if we invested in cheaper alternatives in those positions that we need squad depth. Because we can't have Sancho on the right wing and have an amazing first team that's winning games, scoring lots of goals. And then in the league games, we have Jesse Lingard, Juan Mata, and, Diego Dalot, who was absolutely terrible today.
Okay, defensive-wise, Dalot was awful, but he was getting, what I liked is that he was getting involved in the offense. That's what you were kind of saying about Wan-Bissaka and Trent. Trent last year. Trent was getting forward much, but his defensive work was off. But Wan-Bissaka's defensive work was good, and his offensive wasn't too great. And this is the same thing with Diego Dalot. He was attacking well, he was getting crosses in, but his defense, it was just miserable. Todd Cantwell, and then McLean and Rupp, they pretty much were, even though Rupp is playing on the left side, you can see him kind of defaulting towards Dalot because they know that he's the weak link in the squad. I mean, out of the many weak links, he's the weakest one, I'd say. Yeah.
I think United's squad depth was really exposed, and I think we should move on to player ratings. I'm going to be pretty harsh on them today.
Yeah. Wait, but first I have to say, what an ugly goal that last one was.
Oh my!
That was
United
so
were lucky.
United were so lucky. No, it was obvious that Norwich were they were trying for the penalties because Tim Krul has such a good record with penalties. First off, 2014 World Cup, he was the hero against Costa Rica in what was it, quarterfinals for Netherlands. He, what's his name, Louis van Gaal, subbed off. What's his name, man? Jasper Cillessen in the last dying minutes of the game, and I was like, what is this man doing? And turns out Tim Krul is slightly taller than him, wider wingspan, saved 2 penalties. It's like, okay, I see it. And then he was the penalty hero in the last match for the FA Cup. So it was obvious that that Norwich was really vying for that penalty shootout. I was just so sad that they just couldn't make it. I was kind of gunning for United, but then after seeing them, I was like, okay, screw this. I want to see Norwich do well.
Yeah, Norwich was going for the pens. United was trying to go for the kill. I think in extra time, United were dominant. They were
dominant in possession. That's what. In
possession, yeah, they were not clinic. They were a bit more.
Okay. In the very first 10 minutes of the first half, there was that double save by Tim Krul. Like they were going for that, but then it just seemed kind of break down. I just for 6 minutes I was just looking and watching. I have no recollection of what happened in a period of I think from the 106th minute to the 10th minute. I had no recollection of what happened. As it's just they were just kind of just passing it laterally. Just I don't know what they were trying to do because it just seemed so very on and off for United. Sometimes they'd be going for it, they'd be going hard, they'd be trying to find little things here and there just to break down the defense. Luke Shaw was putting in work on the left side. He was getting involved in goals. And then sometimes it just seemed like they just flipped a switch and they were off. Especially after the water break, they were just kind of slipping up. They were losing the ball in the center of the pitch, and they were leading to some possessions for Norwich to go on the attack, and they had maybe one possession Norwich where it seemed they would look like they're going to score before someone just came in and sweeped it. But yeah, I think it's just that United were just so on and off today. It just kind of killed them.
Yeah, United's best times I'd say are obviously the first 5-10 minutes and then the last couple of minutes. United, against Sheffield, we saw they kind of like to start strong. They really try to get that first goal, and then Fergie time, United like to grab those late game winners. So yeah, let's move on to player ratings. Let's start from the back.
For sure.
And move our way forward. Let's start with Sergio Romero. What would you give him?
God, it's hard because he made a save or two. You remember that one with the cross? He just came out that looked like it was going to be a goal if the guy coming on was going to score, but he made a good save to get that out. He conceded the Cantwell goal. It was a good shot by Cantwell. Can't underscore him. So you really couldn't do much about that. I'd give him a 6.
Yeah, I gave him a 5. I mean, I don't think Romero had much to do in the game. There's that one sequence where they had I believe it was a free kick, and it hit Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes
right.
And then the Norwich player was coming in. He was lucky that the Norwich player came in too early.
No, what happened? I was laughing because Max Aaron just came in and just blocked it with his shoulder. I was like, oh my god, this guy just saved United. But then watching the replay, there wasn't much that Romero could do. It just kind of caught him off guard, as well as that the initial shot. I mean, the initial deflection. I can't really tell what was going out regardless. He just happened to get in the way of it before it got out. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I see what you say. Why you give him a 5.
Yeah, I think people rate Romero because he's had I think it was 11 clean sheets in 14 cup games prior to this, but it's because he's playing clubs like Tranmere and Norwich, low level teams that park the bus, so he's not really getting those chances against him. But if he's gonna play at the top level, this is why he is the second keeper to De Gea.
Yeah, how old is Sergio Romero?
I'm not sure.
He is 33. Yeah, he's not going to spend much time. Yeah, I think after 2014 Argentina World Cup, they're just coming to United. He's kind of played the same role as Ter Stegen in his first season at Barcelona, just playing Champions League and just playing Copa del Rey before. But the thing that's different between Ter Stegen and Sergio Romero is that Ter Stegen eventually replaced Bravo when he left, and he became the first string goalie. So I think it's a matter that maybe Ole is not putting his full trust into De Gea for cup matches. That's what I'm kind of see it as. Because if they have a keeper as talented and qualified as De Gea, why even bother having Sergio Romero be first for these cup matches?
I'd say because, De Gea, he's been kind of lacking that confidence. And, it would really hurt his confidence if he conceded in those cup games.
But, like, the thing was, like, Romero's been playing, like, the same position for 5 years. He's made 50 this is his 51st appearance in cup matches, and he's only played 7 Premier League games.
Yeah, I mean, Romero is happy to be second keeper, and there's not a lot of keepers who are happy to play second fiddle too. Especially with a position like keeper, there's only one keeper, so you're either on the pitch or you're not. Mm-hmm. And even Dean Henderson is only willing to come back to United if he's guaranteed that number 1 spot. So I think Dean Henderson will stay on loan for next season.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen until De Gea leaves. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, De Gea's had a bad season, but I think in the times that he saved us, I think he deserves one last season.
Yeah. He's saved Manchester United more times than he screwed them up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Luke Shaw.
I'll give him a 6. I think he again had kind of Timu Pukki kind of coming down his side a bit. Some of the crosses were also from the right side. But, he was good in attack. I mean, he got involved. You occasionally saw him at the edge of the box kind of linking up with Pogba and Rashford later on. So I think he did kind of improve. But I think, with the lack of pressure or, like, attacking threat by Lingard, Mata, Fred McTominay, kind of keeping that ball in the opposition half, I think that kind of prompted Norwich to kind of attack their own half. So I think if United started out with Pogba, Martial, the Fab Four, I think Luke Shaw would have had a better game. I don't think he would have had much to do in terms of defensive work, but I think he's showing good progress through his attacking, kind of down the left flank.
Yeah, I was joking around saying like Luke Shaw listened to our podcast yesterday because he was a lot more involved in the offense. We kind of slammed him yesterday for not being too defensively aware, like kind of being exposed, and like it was just kind of just him being in the same sort of pitch, being in the same pitch as Wan-Bissaka. He kind of what Wan-Bissaka could do kind of exposed him for what he couldn't. But Luke Shaw really pulled up today. He started that goal. He didn't start Goyal's goal. He started
Maguire's.
The slab head goal. Yeah, got the cross in and just a ping pong series before Maguire got that ugly goal, and that's all I'll say. So I'm gonna give him a 6.5.
Yeah. Onto Maguire. What you rate Maguire?
6.5 again. Like he got the goal. Yeah, he was just there, right place, right time. He made a lot. Defensive work was mediocre. That's all I'll say. But he kind of let so many, like, as I was saying, those ping pong things, like what it seems to me when Eric Bailly and Maguire and this four just play together, it seems like a bunch of U12 players just kicking at each other's shin trying to get the ball out. That's what it looked to me. Like I just like, what is going on? Like this, like even my sister could play better than I kid, but I exaggerate a bit. But yeah, his defensive capabilities weren't too great, but he was finding a lot of long balls, setting long balls forward. That's another thing I saw. They were kind of sending a lot more long balls than they were in the last match. So I see that as a positive. He was starting to attack instead of trying to build it up from the back, which is what they're struggling to do with the absence of Matic. But yeah, 6.5.
Yeah, I gave Maguire an 8. I think in this depleted defense, Bailly was a bit rusty, especially with the lack of game time he's had. Bailly
he's had
was pretty
bad
rusty.
Injury.
Yeah, he came from injury a couple weeks ago. But yeah, and Delo, who's just, we'll get to him later, but I think, Maguire, he scored the goal. I think he was kind of trying to take matter into his own hands, obviously. Fred and McTominay weren't able to push the ball forward as they have been able to before the lockdown period. So I think it was good for Maguire to kind of run down that channel of space. What I noticed was when Matic came on and Martial came on for Eric Bailly, they kind of operated in a kind of back three kind of formation. I think Matic provided that kind of defensive stability. He stayed more back while he let Bruno and Pogba kind of play a bit more. So it kind of played like Bruno and Pogba were kind of like two kind of center mids, and
Mm-hmm.
Matic as a CDM. So I think Maguire, he in the Spurs game, we kind of noted how he needs a pacey center back. Like in
Spurs or
the
Sheffield?
Spurs, like when
Oh,
Bergwijn
my
scored,
bad.
and
Yes,
when
yeah, yeah,
Bergwijn
yeah.
scored, yeah, like Lindelof wasn't able to get there quick enough. Kind of like a Ramos Varane type of partnership, right? Like
They're
Varane is
both
very
fast
pacey.
players.
Yeah, but so Maguire can provide that physical presence, but I think he does need a more pacey, a more like aware center back who can quickly go from edge like one side to the other in terms of their own half. But I think he couldn't do. I don't think like individual mistakes there were many, and he did have that block. So I think compared to the other players, I wouldn't rate him the same as Bai or Delots. I think I'll
Yeah.
edge him with 8.
Alrighty, okay, that's pretty generous. Eric
Yes,
by 4.5.
I'd give him
Uh,
4.
yeah, we're just being so critical. Like, yeah, he came back from injury. It's hot. He hasn't played in a long time, and he's just kind of the second, just like he's not that high up in the pecking order even after coming to Man U, like being Jose Mourinho's first signing. He hasn't really been the center back of choice.
Yeah, I
And I
think
think maybe today could have been his time to prove that yes, he is capable, but I don't think he really showed that. But also again, injury. But what more can you say?
yeah, I think United. I think United were, they weren't like they were fit physically, but they weren't match fit. They weren't match
They
aware.
weren't mentally there.
Yeah, they were in some other place, and I think he started off sloppy. There was this.
Yeah,
We talked about how like the 1v1 versus Pookie where he rushed through to the penalty
Rush
spot.
Cantwell, yeah, and then
Yeah,
you
and then
rush.
there was this
Yeah,
one play. I don't know what he was doing. He was trying to shield off the defender, and then the defender gave him pushed him in the back, and he just like jumped up like a
yeah, I
donkey.
saw that.
I don't know
I was like, what the
what
hell
Bai
is
was
this?
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bai is very rusty, but throughout the game he did get better. Kind of play
yeah,
more like the
that's
tank he
agreed.
was it 2016 I think when he was making
I
all
mean,
those
like,
tackles.
yeah, I remember Bai was actually scoring for United. Like, he was kind of like the Ramos for United. But I think, yeah, if United really want to tighten up the defense, they're gonna need some more pacey center backs. And the only ones that I can think off the top of my head who can fill up that void that United need: Van Dijk, Ramos, and Varane. Only problem is Varane's playing at the best club right now in Europe. I'll say that. Ramos is old, and no chance in hell is Van Dijk ever moving to United.
Yeah, I think United need to find a cheaper alternative, but also strong. They were linked to Koulibaly back in March.
Yeah, way back when.
Reports said that they had agreed a deal. But I think United's defensive woes still continue. But I
Has
think
has the Koulibaly deal fallen through, or is it gonna happen, or
it fell through. I mean, reports suggested that they kind of agreed, not
just terms?
officially, but like in terms,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
talking
Well,
wise. But
yeah, if I think Koulibaly would be a good addition, like a short term addition, considering like he's pretty old at the moment, but like I think for this next season, like if someone like Koulibaly can be there, so that these youngster players like Rashford, Martial, they don't have to worry about getting conceded on and putting more pressure to score on them. They have someone like that in the back, just backing them up, making sure they're not conceding. Then it just frees them up, puts off so much pressure on them. It'd just be great for United in a whole.
no, yeah, United's defensive kind of stance has improved tremendously. I mean, they've only conceded, I believe, 5 goals or something in the
Yeah, they have
past.
one of the best defensive records though.
Yeah, I think they're tied with Sheffield right now for second best defensive record in the Premier League. But I think that is credited to the attack. Obviously, if you're attacking, you're kind of pushing the opposition into their own half. And if United stay hungry even after that first goal, that will also improve their defensive woes. But yeah, I think by uh, I mean I wouldn't have put Lindelof in that game. So I think Ole got the substitution right. I mean Lindelof needs to pair with Maguire for those important league games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I give him a 4.
Okay, yeah.
Moving on to Delo,
I want to see what you say. I want to see what you say.
he was very raw today. He was very raw. He was in his
Raw as in
attack.
good?
No, raw as in he was like, he didn't really understand the game. He didn't read the game. He was kind of a one-trick pony, kind of one like straight mindset. Okay, I have to rush down the right flank and then just try to cross it. I mean, he found himself one-on-one with the defender, unable to cut back or, kind of pause, hesitate, move. He wasn't able to formulate any attack. I don't know what he was doing in the defense. He was absolutely invisible. I gave him a 4. That's kind of generous for me. I would have given a 3.5 on a good day, but it wasn't a bad day at the office. He's very rusty. He does come back from injury, so I guess you could point that out. But if United are to challenge as England's top club, they're going to have to invest in a much better right back in terms of the reserve squad. And I think it really shows the difference between Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot. I mean, Dalot did save United in that PSG game. He was the one who shot it, and with Kimpembe kind of doing the handball thing. But
that was the one from last year, or no?
Yeah. Champions League.
I mean, that's like old news at this point.
Yeah, but that shot was off target anyway.
United haven't had like a proper fullback, I don't think, since like the Neville days. But I think Wan-Bissaka could really come into that role. How was Raphael like back then?
Raphael was pretty good. He was like a fan favorite kind of. Yeah. He was a hothead, but I think also technicality wise, he wasn't as good as kind of the standards that Evra and the Neville brothers kind of.
Yeah. And then I think as well as that, then there was also the failed transfer of Matteo Darmian. You really didn't do much for United. Is he still around, or?
He's on loan, I believe, at Palermo or something. At some Italian club, I believe.
He never really improved or showed up well.
Yeah, I think United need to really invest in their youth.
United kind of need to invest everywhere in the defense.
Yeah. I don't know what United's money has been spent on. It's just been gone to waste. But I think Ole substituted Brandon Williams for Diogo Dalot, and I think Brandon Williams, he's always played on the left side, kind of interchanging with Luke Shaw. But I think he did really well on the right side. I mean, he had that critical save where he dove in that 1v1 with the defender in the box. It was a kind of harsh, like, if he mistimed that move, penalty, could be red card, could be yellow. Yeah, that could seal the game. But I think he was also very raw in his first kind of appearances for United, but he's really starting to grow and understand the game a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dalot 4. Just like he was doing offense well, but like it's one thing getting in the position, it's another thing putting in a good cross, and it's the second part he was lacking. So yeah, just a 4. Scott McTominay, what'd you say?
McTominay, 4 or 5.
Yeah,
I think Fred and McTominay both get a 4 and 5.
I'd say they were just invisible. I really, apart from the one pass that Fred had to early in the second half to Bruno Fernandes, getting that bicycle kick in. It was a good set of play and a really nice vision from Fred. But apart from that, he really he was picking up balls, but I don't say his offensive work really needs a lot more. So I'd actually give him not a 4.5. I'd give him probably a 5.
Yeah, I think Fred kind of edges it over McTominay, but as a midfield partnership and knowing the potential they have, especially with their games before lockdown, which I've constantly repeated, they were pretty good, but they're very inexperienced. They have that, get the ball first rather than actually reading the game and understanding that, if there's another player, I need to also kind of shield them or take them into accountability. So I think they need to understand that, kind of work it out better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scott McTominay, he wasn't nothing really crazy for me. But I really couldn't say much about him. But considering the performance that Matic put in, it was night and day seeing the difference. And that's what we've been defaulting to a lot, just seeing the difference between the reserve squad and the first team. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to put in. What'd you say about Bruno Fernandes?
Bruno Fernandes, yeah, I think it was his worst performance. It wasn't terrible, but
I mean, worst performance as in this was still a average performance, which is...
It was, yeah, I mean, the standard that he's set, scoring goals, finding those spaces...
He set a high bar for himself.
Yeah, so he didn't have a bad game. I mean, he had a pretty average game, but it was just kind of a bad day at the office kind of game for him. I'd give him a 6. He still managed to find some like good chances with that depleted
Yeah.
attack. Found Igalo in that red card situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
But
I'd give
I
him
think he
this.
also has to be a lot more like mature with the shots he takes.
Definitely,
Just
he was very
he's
he was
like
just letting loose.
like how many shots do they have? 30
7. I think there was-
37 shots, 9 on target. Like
Yeah,
they have to be, and like the bicycle kick, there really was no, like, it would have been sick if it worked out probably, but there he could have just chested it down. Like he
yeah,
had
he had
time.
time. Yeah,
He had yeah. Tim Kroll, he's an experienced keeper, but I think he could have scored it if he didn't go for the flashy one. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
then go ahead.
I give him a 6 as well.
Yeah, and then he was sandwiched by Lingard and Mata, who I'd give 4, maybe 3s. Mata and
There's
Lingard have had their time at the club. They've
I think it's high time that's their exits.
yeah,
coming.
yeah. I mean, if we're paying 200K a week for these two combined to not do anything productive on the pitch, I think they need to leave. They didn't
Yeah.
create clear-cut chances. Lingard didn't make the right runs. Mata isn't fast enough. These both cannot continue to like be paid at such a high amount if they are not going to.
Yeah. Like if a commentator says your club veteran is Lingard, then you're kind of screwed. Like I'm slamming him
Yeah.
super hard, but like he's had so much time to develop under so many different managers. He was there with the Fergie era, but I think he just never really came into his own.
Yeah. He came through with the academy, but he hasn't been able to kind of be himself. I mean, he had his peak, I guess, in the 2017-18 season, but I don't think we're gonna ever.
But
Get
even
that
then,
player.
like what they come, like they came like second place, but they were so far off United or
Yeah,
City, right?
City, yeah, and then Mata.
That was the
I
100
mean, yeah,
Mata,
the 100 point.
Yeah, they really had no chance in United, but
Mata,
yeah,
I
Mata.
mean, he hasn't been the same since Chelsea days.
Yeah, he has never been in the same like sort of form as his Chelsea. I just kind of said
Yeah.
the same thing, but he's just kind of slow, just not able to like keep up with Bruno, and he just couldn't really back them up. And first half, I didn't even hear his name. I will say the Lingard dribble that he did, just cutting through those defenders, kind of similar to what Pogba did last week. Was it that was a good play by him, but really nothing else from him that I saw.
Yeah, sometimes we saw Lingard kind of. And there was just one play like Lingard, he like dribbled through some players, and then he just fired a good cross. It was a good cross, but into a box with no United
No one,
players.
yeah.
So I think this squad, I mean, they really need to get on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Moving on to Odion Igalo, I gave him an 8. I mean, he scored the first goal. He kind of was in the right space. He tried to, with that goal, second goal he could have scored, but kind of got
the
caught
goal he
right.
scored, like it was a good goal. I'm not gonna. It was kind of a slow ball, but he did well to time it right, sort of an acrobatic finish, and he did well just to place it, not just like sky it over the crossbar. But yeah, it was a good goal. He got his dream come true coming from China. United has been his his favorite
Dream
club since he's a
club,
boy. Yep. And yeah, it's a worthy performance, something he'll remember forever, I'm sure of. But yeah, Igalo, I'm gonna give him a 7. Yeah, he was kind of like playing as like a what I'd see like as a Karim Benzema, just kind of like holding the play and trying to pass it, but like who can you pass to when there's no one backing you up? I think that's the one problem that United had. I think Igalo and Martial could be a lethal combination. Like Martial being the one who's able to make runs, and Igalo being the one who can hold up the play, kind of like a Diego Costa or a Karim Benzema. That's what I see it as. But I don't think he's fast. I don't think he's that fast for like the counter-attacking sort of play that they were. Because like even today, there really wasn't anyone who was able to counter-attack as well.
He's a strong player, but he's not the right puzzle piece in this kind of team that United or Ole is trying to build. And I think that's what United has struggled with in the past. They've gone good players, but they don't play the same style. So eventually, you partner a pacey player with a strong. Like you pair like Rashford up with Martial or say Lukaku, and we saw like that doesn't really work when they're kind of trying to play or like counter off each other or feed off each other's balls and energy. So I think he's a really good reserve player. I mean, he knows like his.
He could be like a super sub, I think.
Yeah, kind of like Ole's, and he could when the game is about to end and they have a good chance of winning, meaning they're up 2 or 3 goals. He can be subbed on for Martial or one of the strikers to kind of give them a bit more rest.
Yeah. But I just kind of want to say, what's my thoughts on man of the match for as a whole? I wouldn't say a United player. Todd Cantwell for me.
For me, it's Tim Krul. I think.
Oh,
I mean, he couldn't have saved those goals. I mean, he was close to saving the Igalo one. He couldn't do anything about the Maguire. He was right in front, but Maguire kind of edged it to the right. He was already in a diving position. He didn't have enough time to react. But I think Tim Krul did kind of give the Norwich kind of players the confidence to kind of go. Fine. I'll hold things at the back. You guys create
go
chances.
forward.
And I think if United doesn't score that goal, penalties come. Tim Krul saves them.
I honestly have no idea where it would have been if it was penalties. But
United would definitely have more penalty drama. And with their star players gone, Rashford has been taking the penalty kicks before Bruno. Martial has been taking Pogba. Now it's just Bruno and, I mean, who else? Was Lingard and Igalo be taking the penalty kicks?
Oh, no. Lingard came off. Lingard, Fred, Scott, McTominay, Bailly, Delo.
Yeah. So they came off, but, like, if United didn't take, like, in a penalty situation, I mean, if Bruno's not there, they have very inexperienced penalty takers.
Yeah, but like for me, Todd Cantwell, he got clotheslined by Scott McTominay. He dropped down to the pitch twice, but like I thought like, oh, he's going off for sure. But like he persevered, he got that goal. Hats off to him. He was creating chances, like exposing Delo. Like you remember that 1-2 he played, I think with Wendy or someone. He played a nice 1-2 to get into the box. He scored that goal, obviously. Just that one ball to Pukki on that one counterattack, I think it would have changed drastically how the game would have been.
Yeah, I think this loss actually benefits Norwich in a sense. Norwich don't have to focus on the FA Cup, and with the relegation that they're in, I believe they're 21 points, and like Brighton and Bournemouth, they're 27 points. So they're 2 wins behind. But also, I think they could have gone a sense of confidence. I mean, for 40-ish minutes, they were playing United's mostly first team from Sheffield United, and they were able to hold them off, except for that lucky goal by Slabhead. So I think Norwich can go in with some confidence. Cantwell did kind of pick up a bit, like he was on the ground a bit, as you said. So I think Norwich maybe benefits from the game.
And like Norwich were obviously coming with a handicap. They had the mentality like, okay, they're last place. This is United's sixth consecutive quarterfinal appearance in the FA Cup. This is Norwich's first in 28 years. And in the two previous fixtures in league play, they've scored 4-0 and 3-0 against Norwich. So the odds were really not in their favor. But they showed up well. They played a game. But I just had to say, like, it was just really sad just watching Teemu Pukki walk off the field.
Yeah. I mean, we saw his form in the beginning
in
of
the first month. Yeah, and the just him and his head in his shirt. Like it's really heartbreaking to see like how difficult the Premier League could be. Like he was explosive, but I think in this match especially, like there was no one to back him up. Cantwell was there, but like he had the ball, but he was just kept getting surrounded by United players. There was really nothing he could do. It was just kind of like heartbreaking to see him just walk off so somberly and sad.
No matter what team you support, Pukki kind of became a favorite for every Premier League fan.
And I even picked him on my fantasy team.
Yeah. So this wraps up our Norwich versus Manchester United episode. We're going to be back with our episode against Brighton on June 30th, Tuesday this week. Premier
What's your
League.
predictions for that match?
Brighton.
Before we wrap up, one last thing I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, United, Champions League or FA Cup? What do they go for now that they're in the semifinals? What do you think they'll be gunning for now?
I mean, FA Cup, they still have hard teams to face. They have potentially Sheffield, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester, City, or Newcastle. But Ole wants to win concrete titles. I mean, getting a Champions League spot is good. So I think Ole will. I think if United played someone like Leicester or Chelsea today, they would have placed a much stronger squad. Ole's kind of stated in his interviews he believes like winning the FA Cup could be a catalyst for players to kind of be hungry for that feeling again. So I think United will try to maximize their efforts in order to attain both. But I think if Ole doesn't get that top 4 spot, in the reality right now, managers don't get much time. If you don't, Ole was lucky to have those great interim results, because if he didn't have those, Ole would have been out a long time ago with results against Newcastle, Burnley, like those low table teams. So I think United, maybe depending on who they get in the semifinal, could place an easy or hard team. But I think United will still continue to challenge for both.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Predictions?
it's predictions for Brighton. So Brighton are coming into this match 15th place. This is all. It's just the rest of it's just FA Cup fixtures, and Man U's coming in 6th position, 3 points off Wolves.
But
So
Wolves, they play today, so they have a game in hand.
yeah. No, Wolves have played 32 matches. United have played 31.
Yeah. So United have a game in hand.
Yeah, United have a game in hand. So they are winning on goal difference. They've got 17. Wolves have 11. 3 points off versus Brighton coming into the 16th place. How would I see this? I'm gonna say if we're seeing the same football that they played against Sheffield, I'm gonna say 2-0.
Yeah, I think United will probably start their same lineup against Sheffield, against Brighton, and Brighton they've kind of showed some confidence with beating Arsenal. They should have beaten Leicester, I think, with that Malpe penalty kick, and Leicester weren't very clinical either. So I think Brighton is building up confidence. So I think United might concede a goal, maybe 2-1.
Yeah.
But I think United takes the 3 points towards their Champions League.
Yeah, but my predictions for this match came true, so I've got a point on the board for prediction table. So yeah, so that's it for this today's fixture. When's the Brighton game again?
Tuesday, June 30th.
Okay, so we'll have that up as soon as we can. But thank you for sticking around with us, and we'll see you next time.